Hey everyone, it's Ryder from Skip. I hope you're doing well and your weekend is off to a great start. Breaking news, there's a brand new report out from the SBA Inspector General detailing management and performance challenges still facing the SBA, including EIDL challenges and PPP challenges. As far as I can tell, it's the most comprehensive report they've done in the past 2 years. I'll talk about the most surprising things from this report and why you should care, especially if you're still waiting for EIDL loans or if you've taken any money from the SBA in the past 18 months. And I'll give my opinions on what the SBA could do immediately to improve things for all of you waiting to get help from the SBA. I'll quickly give an update on EIDL approval, what our data is showing here, and how SBA makes decisions, which I shared yesterday, our brand new SBA cash flow analysis tool, and a couple more tips, especially if you're trying to figure out your schedule of liabilities or your personal financial statement. Stay tuned. Be sure to like this video, and if you're new, subscribe and turn on the alerts. Here's the 46-page report that was just released, Top Management and Performance Challenges Facing the SBA in Fiscal Year 2022. And surprise, surprise, challenge number one is SBA's economic relief programs are susceptible to significant fraud risks and vulnerabilities. Talks about PPP, abuse and fraud, PPP eligibility, PPP data reliability, and EIDL susceptible to fraud. They also bring up technology and investment in IT, investment in personnel and training. So here is what's important. Even before the pandemic, SBA faced major challenges in managing enormous financial lending programs, IT, and other areas. This report discusses 8 major performance challenge areas and the issues that contribute to these challenges, many of which we have discussed in previous OIG reports. The quote goes on, "I believe managing COVID-19 stimulus lending is the greatest overall challenge facing the SBA, and it may likely continue to be for many years as the agency grapples with fraud in the programs, particularly in the COVID EIDL program and the process of PPP loan forgiveness. Overall, the agency has made great progress, and they're even retiring some of the issues they identified last year. We have a few more spots this coming week to get one-on-one support. Huge shout out to everyone who's been getting one-on-one support. We're so glad we can help you through this. I know it's often very stressful for you. If you're thinking about it, you're still on the fence, click the link in the top of the description. You'll be able to bypass over 4,000 people in the waitlist and find a spot in the next few days to talk to us. Link right below, or go to eidl.me. So let me dive in. By the way, they have this color code definition of problem areas and not, so I'm especially going to focus where there has been moderate or limited progress or no progress in problem areas that the OIG has identified. Here in red, the speed of lending through these programs is unmatched by anything in the SBA's history. I've said this lots of times. So has the SBA. They often say this as a reason for the struggles they have, which are completely valid. What I want to emphasize at the end is that there are simple things the SBA could do right now in 1 to 2 days that would go such a long way in improving communication, approvals, better utilizing resources, better utilizing loan officers' time, and increasing the speed that businesses can get help while preventing fraud. In green, as of August 2021, we have received more than 215,000 hotline fraud complaints in the PPP and EIDL program combined, and 1.2 million EIDL loan complaints of identity theft. Think about that. 1.2 million EIDL loan complaints of identity theft. In yellow, here's what the investigations have led to. So far, 307 indictments, 205 arrests, 69 convictions related to PPP and EIDL as of August 2021. And no doubt that is just the tip of the iceberg. Here in yellow, the OIG has identified 70,835 loans, totaling more than $4.6 billion in potentially fraudulent PPP loans. Now, PPP is a big deal because of forgiveness. These are not loans. They're forgivable loans. So basically, if you use them correctly, and there's no doubt a lot of folks that didn't apply properly, got too much money, or they weren't eligible, and guess what? Those are turning into grants, as opposed to the EIDL loans where you're going to be on the hook for them. The rating is yellow here, as in the SBA has been doing improvements. Same with PPP data reliability. Now look what's in orange here. No surprise, COVID-19 EIDL loan program susceptible to fraud. So here are the few reasons potentially fraudulent loans to accounts that differed from the original bank accounts listed on applications. In yellow, SBA has approved $14.3 billion in COVID EIDL and emergency EIDL grants to applicants who later changed the bank account number to pay out the loan to a different account. Although there are reasons an applicant might need to change their bank, such as you put down your personal but now you want to change it to business, the number of applicants who change their bank account numbers or accounts to an entirely different bank before loan disbursements is concerning as a potential fraud indicator. There's also potentially fraudulent loans made to applicants using duplicate information. In yellow, we found SBA had approved $62.7 billion in multiple COVID EIDL and emergency EIDL grants to applicants who use the same IP address, email addresses, business addresses, or bank accounts. They've reported on that in past reports, and they're saying a lot of this is potentially fraudulent. There may be legitimate reasons for some cases, but the extent of things they've identified means they should be doing further investigation. 2 weeks ago, I talked about the $4.6 billion in EIDL grants that went to folks incorrectly, basically sole proprietors who were claiming 2 or more employees, in a couple cases, 1 million employees that got the full $10,000 grants when they should have only gotten the $1,000 grants as a sole prop. There's also lots of identity theft, and as I've reported in the past, the SBA has enhanced system controls and validations. In yellow here, despite the control enhancements, the sheer volume of loans and advances will continue to pose a challenge for the agency to reduce the ongoing risk of fraud in these programs. OIG will continue to monitor these issues and conduct oversight work to assess the effectiveness of the agency's controls and identify areas for improvement. So before I get to what I think should happen, what I think the SBA could do now, I just want to point out this. Many of you have experienced firsthand the portal, the evolution of the SBA portal, the evolution of the COVID EIDL application form. Sometimes it's working, sometimes it's not. But I want to show you this. Certified.sba.gov was a 5-year, $30 million system that was so unsuccessful that the agency had to replace it. That's their words, not mine. The new system is currently being tested. In my mind, that technology piece is the missing piece. With a little bit of time and effort and having some great systems thinkers join them, I'd venture to guess a vast majority of these problems could be better worked out. The other side is on the folks helping you, the customer service representatives, the loan officers. That's basically what the SBA is balancing. So one of the suggestions here is better training ahead of time for folks who are in reserve, on deck, if you will, that may be pulled in the case of disasters. By the way, just spotted this typo in the report. Just goes to show you that even in reports coming from the federal government, where you'd expect them to have proofreaders before these get put into the public realm, there's typos. It's the small things like this because they're managing hundreds of billions of dollars. But if they make typos in reports, and I've commented on typos in some of the SBA reports in the past as well. So hopefully someone there is watching and they'll update this. By the way, on deadlines, because this has come up in a lot of different calls and on our comments, the deadline to apply for COVID-19 EIDLs was extended to December 31st, 2021. That's the deadline to apply. Of course, I reported yesterday that the SBA says they have plenty of funding. Famous last words, I know, but they say they will not run out of EIDL funding before the end of the year. They'd have to spend $2.5 billion per day for that to happen. So I keep saying plan accordingly, get in your application now. Do not miss out on this unique moment in time to help stabilize or grow your business. It's hard to predict the future, as in, will we see programs like this again or not? We may not. So 30-year, 3.75% could be great if you have a good business that just needs a little bit of support. I know I'm preaching to the choir here, but if you know folks and businesses who haven't applied yet, just remind them that these low interest loans are made available to help small businesses across the country in light of the pandemic. And they have just over 2 more months to apply, but they should do it sooner rather than later. The last thing in this report I'll leave you with is on disaster loan servicing centers. There are only 2 in the U.S., one in Birmingham, Alabama, and the other in El Paso, Texas. These 2 centers manage the portfolio and provide customer service, including accepting and processing loan payments. Now, the SBA doesn't have to worry about that right now per se, but it's going to be a major, major issue going into 2022 and 2023 when repayments start. By the end of 2021, the SBA could have a disaster loan portfolio size of nearly $500 billion, $470 billion here. The demand on the current servicing centers is going to increase dramatically. I've remarked on this in the past. There's some simple things they can do on pay.gov and the SBA login to make it much easier for people to understand how much they owe, how to make payments. But the flip side is, and you may not agree with this, the SBA has been doing improvements. I think they can do so much more given the resources they have. For example, we were able to build an EIDL cash flow analysis calculator in a day. We found out what SBA loan officers use. It's basically a simple Google sheet with some addition, subtraction, multiplication. We made a more advanced version with 7 inputs to basically understand whether someone could repay the loan. How great would it have been for the SBA to do this for you? Think about the tens of thousands of phone calls, emails that it would cut down, the thousands of hours on back and forth with loan officers, all of the emails you've sent in with 3 or 4 attachments with tax returns, schedule of liabilities. There's folks who've probably sent in birth certificates, passport information, everything but the kitchen sink, because frankly, you didn't know what the loan officer needs. When people face uncertainty, there's a couple different types of reactions. Some people panic and say, I'm going to give them everything, and maybe that'll be 50 emails all at once. I always say keep it short and sweet if you're applying for reconsideration, to get their attention, and then work with the loan officer on what they need. But imagine if the SBA made this publicly available. And by the way, if there are any SBA loan officers watching who want access to this, feel free to email us, tips@helloskip.com. There's 2 more things the SBA could do to improve things for you. But let me just give one example here, because the fact of the matter is most people should qualify for the increased loan amounts, but the reality that's happening right now is most people are getting denied, and it mainly has to do with the schedule of liabilities as well as the personal financial statement if you're being denied for a lack of repayment ability. But let me go back to the calculator here. Again, it's only available for premium members at the moment. So if you book one-on-one support, you can click Business Dashboard, and then under Premium Tips, click View, and you'll be redirected to the cash flow analysis calculator. We may open this up in a week to more folks. So if you're interested, hit subscribe. If you don't want the one-on-one support, but you want to find out about this first, you can also go to EIDL2.com to create an account and see our EIDL loan increase calculator. This basically shows what you might be eligible for. It doesn't take into account your cash flow, basically your 2019 revenue, minus COGS, times 2, taking into account what you've received to date. But they should also give this out as well, because if you know that you'll be denied, you'll ask for a lower amount, and the SBA could put this up in a day. Let's say you had $510,000 net income for your business in 2019. And by the way, I'm not a CPA. This is for illustrational purposes only. Now, here's what the SBA accounts for. Annual business debt service, let's say it's $400,000, and your annual personal debt service is $100,000, and your total EIDL amount to be requested is $1.2 million. Again, $510,000 at the top here, times 2. That would probably be what you would be eligible for on your SBA portal. But let's say you calculate your cash flow. In that scenario, you may not be eligible for your EIDL loan request because of inability to make repayments. Your monthly payments would be $5,500. Why is that? Take a look at the things in red here. Your annual business debt service, $400,000. Your annual personal debt service, $100,000. Let's say your annual personal debt service was 0. You didn't have any personal debt, but you have to make some repayments here for your business. Let's calculate again and see what happens. Well, in that case, you would be eligible. So a lot of these things would help you decide what to ask for. For example, if you lowered that amount, you may be eligible. Here's the main problem. The SBA suggested these very old school forms where you might look at, and a lot of people probably filled out incorrectly or incompletely, and or loan officers interpreted incorrect. It's very confusing. Let me do a fictitious example here. Let's say you have a business creditor. This is for your business, any notes, mortgages, accounts payable. Look at payment amount right here, month-year. That's confusing. What are they asking for? How much you pay per month/year? Just your year, just your month? How do you take into account if you don't have to pay them back for 5 years? And what if you don't have to make payments on it? Like if it's a convertible note that will convert into equity in the future. So lots of scenarios here where it's a bit vague. And of course, many loan officers who are rushing through applications may not be able to interpret what you put down. Let's say you put down $100,000 here. Well, what is that number? Is that monthly or yearly payments? If they assume monthly, then it's highly likely you're going to be rejected for an EIDL loan increase. In fact, we may build something simple here. The SBA could build something here in a couple days, time to upgrade the forms, or at least do a FAQ on the forms where they annotate how to fill it out. In fact, I'm going to message the SBA about that after this video. They did this for the COVID EIDL application a few weeks ago. Again, this is probably 16 months after the EIDL portal was launched. They realized, oh, what if we did an annotated PDF that explained it? But they could and should do that for the schedule of liabilities, as well as for the personal financial statement as well. So those are a couple quick recommendations I would make and try to implement within a couple days. In light of that, we're doing what we can on the Skip app and website. Again, EIDL.me if you want one-on-one support. There's a few slots this coming week still available. Have a great rest of your weekend. Don't forget to like this video and hit subscribe. Most importantly, stay well, stay healthy, and I'll see you tomorrow.